Welcome to the Application Archives, where we stop just reading the Word and start living it out loud. Proverbs chapter 2, verse 1 to 22. My son, if you receive my words and treasure my commands within you, so that you incline your ear to wisdom and apply your heart to understanding, yes, if you cry out for discernment and lift up your voice for understanding, if you seek her as silver and search for her as hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk uprightly. He guards the paths of justice and preserves the way of his saints. Then you will understand righteousness and justice, equity, and every good path. When wisdom enters your heart and knowledge is pleasant to your soul, discretion will preserve you, understanding will keep you, to deliver you from the way of evil, from the man who speaks perverse things, from those who leave the paths of uprightness, to walk in the ways of darkness, who rejoice in doing evil and delight in the perversity of the wicked, whose ways are crooked, and who are devious in their paths, to deliver you from the immoral woman, from the seductress who flatters with her words, who forsakes the companion of her youth, and forgets the covenant of her God. For her house leads down to death, and her paths to the dead. None who go to her return, nor do they regain the paths of life. So you may walk in the way of goodness, and keep to the paths of the righteousness. The upright will dwell in the land, and the blameless will remain in it. But the wicked will be cut off from the earth, and the unfaithful will be uprooted from it. So after those readings, I think we can put it into two different sections. Verses 1 to 9 being the pursuit of wisdom, and verses 10 to 22 being the protection of wisdom. Because wisdom is something that we must actively pursue with commitment. And it's not just something that we can stumble upon. We need to search for it and request it. Another thing is that we need to have knowledge of God on a relational basis, not just on a factual basis. And what I mean by that is moving from knowing about him via facts to knowing him through experience, transforming our views from just facts to relational experiences which others can relate to. One of the things that I feel like is talked about a lot is conversationally God. It's kind of weird, in my opinion, to just be talking randomly throughout your day, but it's really beneficial. It can seem weird at first, but it actually does help. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but it definitely helps a lot. It can make you feel a lot more like you're in a relationship with God, like you're talking to somebody who's right there along with you, which God is. He is right there with you. This is just another way of reaffirming that. Moving on, we can see that wisdom is God's gift. It is something that is given to us, not something we're entitled to. We have to earn our wisdom. We have to search it and pray for it. We have to have fear of our God and reverence for him to earn some of his wisdom. Again, it's not something we're entitled to. It's something that is freely given by God in his grace and love. Another thought that I had is that with wisdom, we are aligned with God's character, because with it, we are enlightened to the righteous paths, which is brought up in his scriptures. When wisdom comes into our lives and enters our hearts, sin often loses appeal. Oftentimes, we feel more inclined to do the right thing. An example would be if you've done something wrong, something that you didn't think was necessarily wrong, or you kind of knew was wrong but you didn't mean to do, and you feel really bad about it, and you really wanted to do the right thing. It is not always that the sin that you've done is worse than it was before. It's often just because you feel more inclined to do the right thing, so that when you do the wrong thing, it feels even worse. So moving on into this next section, we begin to see another big theme from Proverbs, being immorality. So let's take a look. Wisdom is there to protect us, and in the verses that we're talking about, is there to protect us from the seductress, to protect us from immorality, and to lead us onto the right path. However, these verses are also a warning against literal and spiritual adultery, because that lifestyle may seem inviting, but it only leads to destruction. Recovery from that life is extremely difficult, however, not impossible through God. Wisdom isn't just to prevent evil, it's also there to redirect us onto the right path, help us to continue a godly life. Because though the world has its challenges and nobody is perfect, those who follow God and truly seek Him are promised into His kingdom, while those who are wicked will be cut off, not just from His kingdom, but in time also from the earth. In summary, if a person searches for wisdom with dedication and accepts God's teachings and asks for His discernment, God will grant it. Godly wisdom is there to guard us. It's there to protect us from those who abandon the right path to speak twisted and deceptive words and to lead others into darkness, and also to rescue us from seductive flattery of immoral individuals whose choices lead to destruction and death. Ultimately, this chapter has taught us that God is the true source of all wisdom and knowledge. Then it concludes, assuring us that those who live uprightly and walk on the right paths, seeking wisdom from God, will experience the blessings He has in store for us. While there are definitely some themes that remain the same in both chapters, I just wanted to highlight some of the key differences versus chapter 1 and chapter 2. So in the setting, chapter 1 shows wisdom shouting in public streets and markets. Then in chapter 2, it changes to a private, more fatherly talk about inner discipline. Another thing is the call. Chapter 1 is an urgent warning to simple people to stop ignoring knowledge. Chapter 2 describes a lifelong quest for hidden treasure. Then the dangers are different. Chapter 1 warns against violent men seeking quick money, and Chapter 2 protects against smooth-talking men and seductive women. The source is also different. Chapter 1 focuses on the consequences of ignoring wisdom, while Chapter 2 reveals that God directly gives wisdom to the upright. A small note to make would be that there are a few parallels to the Gospels that are quite cool to have a look at. So if you have any extra time, I would recommend going through and trying to find these parallels yourself. Here are our applications for today. The first being pursuing God's wisdom daily. We always have something new to learn. You might feel like you've already learned quite a lot, but the reality is there's always something new to learn. The second being reflecting on our actions. Do they honor God? It's something that can be quite convicting. Honestly, most times you can think that things are God honoring, and they are on the surface, but once you dig deeper and reflect, you understand that they are not as God honoring as you want. And our last one being limiting evil influence and guarding against immorality. Just last week, we were talking about evaluating our influences. Now we're going to be looking at limiting them. Limiting our influences can be hard, but you only have to limit the evil ones. Guarding against immorality is very important, as oftentimes it starts in the mind and then continues onto our actions. All these things are very real and very worldly, and they are the product of a corrupt and fallen world. In this world, sins are easily committed. People are led astray far too easily, but God's there trying to pull us home. In next week's episode, we'll be having a look at Proverbs chapter 3. We'll be going to verse 18 and just breaking that down and doing our normal podcast episode.